go below it.
No, can't go below it. Can't go below.
Yes, yeah, I do a lot of traveling.
Le guarre.
The resale battle.
Alle sex och så.
Den är klar, den är rätt.
Ska vi inte gå här? Rakt upp? Well, I don't know yet what
TV.
That's Saturday, right?
Okay, it is hurting now, so now I'm gonna hurt. We just got about another, let's say, 5 minutes walk, less than 5 minutes for our next stop.
This is East Go.
side.
Está muy bueno. O marido de él, no.
so long.
Trailer. That's
Pues
down in Bray, an hour and a half away from here. So we decided.
I wonder.
des moteurs de drogue, j'en ai plus.
C'est un dans le courant.
Thank